call it a love-hate relationship. Jamaicans and our guns. They may not be manufactured here, but guns have taken a firm hold of Jamaica.
In street culture, we raise the gun salute for respect and celebration. It features highly in our popular music and even language.
But as citizens, the gun is what we fear most. The weapon of choice in our rising rate of homicides and other violent crimes. The battle against the gun, tonight on CS311.
Crimestop Jamaica 311, in association with TVJ, Musson Foundation, National Bakery, King Alarm, and Grace Kennedy, present CS311 with Deirdre Dixon and Leroy Hall.
In September 2015, the Jamaica Constabulary Force launched Get the Guns, a campaign to reduce the number of illegal guns in the island.
The fight against gun violence continues. We hear more from Assistant Commissioner of Police, Elin Powell, head of JCF's Criminal Investigation Branch.
Many of the guns that come into the island come through our legitimate ports. However, and those that come through the ports will come in barrels, motor vehicles, personal effects. However, we have at least 145 illegal ports, and I put ports in quotation mark because they're entry points into Jamaica. And any one of those could be used at any time. There are persons coming in our waters from Costa Rica, El Salvador, Honduras, and we believe that a lot of it comes through Haiti. Didn't necessarily originate in Haiti, because right now there is a thriving business on the border between Haiti and Dominican Republic. So a lot of it could come from Dominican Republic into Haiti, into Jamaica. The gunmen in Jamaica are really very vicious. They are not afraid. One man is not afraid to take on 10 police. They will do it. And they have done it consistently. They seem not to fear death. And so they are so brazen. Communities protect criminals. That's part of the challenge we have. And some of them do it not because they willingly want to do it. They do it because of fear. Because when we leave, they still have to remain there. Because we are less likely to search women and children, they use them as the conveyor for these weapons. I think because we have learned that this has been happening, it is less prevalent. We don't have enough equipment to help in the search for firearms. I mean, firearm dogs would be very useful. I believe we would find many more firearms if we had the use of canine. We would find them both at the point of entry, but also find them in the field. At our ports, what we need are very good X-ray machines that can look into every container to see what's happening in there. If we had more CCTV in public spaces, we could study patterns, movements of vehicles, and it could help us to understand some of the movements of guns that we have seen across the country. Because there are guns that we know that have been used in St. James and in Kingston. I mean, night after night. You can hire it, you can rent it, and you can use it and bring it back. I believe in many instances, we have murders emanating from the failure to return guns. You took the gun, probably somebody took it from you. Sometimes even police take it from them. And sometimes parents, relatives are killed because that gun has not been returned. In 84%, around about 80% of our murders, the gun is used. However, it's interesting to note that in Western Jamaica, that figure is in excess of 90%. So there's not only the proliferation of guns, but the propensity to use it. The use of rifles is more prominent in Western Jamaica than in other parts of the country. The AK-47, the M16 rifles, the .45 and the .40. We have also seen for the first time this year hand grenades being used by criminals. And we have intelligence to suggest that there are more around. We saw it being used in an incident where the police was confronted by two notorious gunmen. And they threw at least 2 hand grenades at the police. It was the first time we were seeing that. So that is for us a significant new development. Because it's not only about engaging the police, it's about engaging their enemies. And some of these enemies were previously very good friends. So we have that internal gang, the intra-gang feud. And why I think we're seeing a lot of murders in those disputes is that they know each other well. They know where they hang out. They know their modus operandi. And so they're easier to find them and to kill them. They know their relatives. And when they can't find them, they head to the relatives. For many years, we would seize round about 600 guns. Last year, that figure went up to 700 after we launched the Get the Gun campaign. It could be that we're more successful at finding guns, but it could also be that there are more guns available. And it's very difficult to have an accurate record of the number of guns because remember, there are no checks when they come in. You only know that they're here when you find them and when they're involved in murders. I believe that would help. If there's a stipulated minimum, people would understand that, listen, if you're found with an illegal gun under these conditions, the penalty will be 20 years. And you know that, you will be wary. There is no offense called trafficking in firearm. We don't even have dealing in firearm. So if we arrest and charge a man for 20 firearms, he'll be charged for illegal possession, but not dealing in firearm. We really need that on our books so that at least the penalties can be far more severe than they are now. Many persons know where guns are hidden. They know who have the guns, but they are afraid in many instances to speak. I think we have to get that courage to do what is right, to rid the communities of guns and gunmen. All of us remain in imminent danger. My advice would be, once you know where an illegal gun is, find a way to tell somebody.
Every one of us can make a difference. You don't have to be a member of the security forces to fight crime.
It may take just one piece of information, just one call to take another illegal weapon off the street. No names needed, no explanation wanted. The number to call is 311.
Guns play such a leading role in crime in Jamaica that it has been said that illegal firearms featured in as many as 80% of murders in 2016. We look back at the part guns played in some of our recently highlighted crimes.
$8 p.m., Tuesday, December 22nd, 2015. Poor Man's Corner, St. Thomas. Murdered were Constable Craig Palmer, 35 years old, and his colleague Corporal Kenneth Davis, 52 years old. Jamaica's most wanted, Duppy Flim, is a suspect in these killings. 8 a.m. Monday, March 9, 2015. Grantham in Clarendon. Natalie Mampy-Gale, a 31-year-old school crossing warden of Copperwood District, Frankfield in Clarendon, was shot to death in the Kilsyth Primary Schoolyard, leaving behind her mother, a son and daughter, and a school full of traumatized children. Thursday, April 13, 2017, in an area called Bucktown. The three murderers escaped into the night, leaving 2 dead and yet another devastated Jamaican family in their wake. Ricardo Blake was only 16 years old, and his brother Richard Blake, 19. 10:45 p.m. Tuesday, September 16, 2015, St. Simon District, Hanover. Three members of the same family were murdered, leaving a tight-knit family and this quiet country community devastated. Dead were Nicholas Bobo Spence, Dalton Bigger Heron, and Nerick Bobby Diaz. Wednesday, May 27, 2015, Fossmore Drive, Maypen, Clarendon. "41-year-old Enoch Lasher Bailey, a husband, father and teacher, had been brutally shot to death at his gate, leaving his wife and son in a state of helplessness."
Telling what you know may be easier than you think. It just takes one anonymous call. Crimestop Jamaica 311. No name needed, no identity wanted.
And I feel discouraged very much over my daughter whenever I come at the school gate and look across. And remember that she was at the school looking her bread and she's down in the grave. Innocent, and she don't do nothing.
The three of them that died, there wasn't somebody that making trouble or going around and making trouble or living bad in the district with anybody. So all the people in the area, when they hear that they died, everybody was saying that these three guys are very humbled. So they are wondering what's the cause of it, but nobody knows the cause of it.
Life is very different now because they're not around anymore. Whenever I remember them, I feel so sad, very sad.
It has been difficult because since he has gone, then life has not been the same. It has affected us, my son and I, emotionally, financially, and it has affected us in many ways, more than what I can really tell now.
If you saw or heard or know anything, please come forward. Call Crimestop Jamaica 311.
More on guns and crime in a moment. But first, these words of warning to stay clear of another popular scam.
Dear Mr. Farquharson, please contact the offices of Briggs, Braggs and Associates at your convenience to discuss matters pertaining to the estate of the late Claudette Tufton of Tufton Great House, Trelawney. And if you want to get the medal, I am Zephaniah Farquharson. I got a letter from your office, you see.
Yes, I am Stanley Briggs. Been expecting your call. My condolences to the loss of your relatives, eh?
Relative? Who are you talking about?
I understand. Mrs. Claudette Tufton was a distant cousin of your father.
Well, I never know my daddy, you see. And look here, all his relatives, and I hear that him dead a long time ago.
Well, you have been left a sizable inheritance by this lady. She was a widow, yeah? No children, no relatives, until we found you. Your father was the sole beneficiary in our will. He is dead now. You would be next in line.
Why, I don't want to get mixed up into any of this dead left business, you know.
Perhaps if I told you the estate is worth $100 million, you may wish to reconsider?
Well, sure. Give me some more details then. No?
First, we will require some official information from you. You know, birth certificate, proof of address and identity. Oh, and of course, you would have to pay some admin taxes, legal fees, and other charges.
What kind of charges, so?
Well, payments you would be expected to hand me up front before we begin the process.
What kind of payment, so?
No, nothing much, really. Considering how much you stand to gain, after that, we can wrap things up in a matter of months.
Nothing much, eh? Something may not be right here. No matter how tempting an offer seems, never automatically pay up front for any expense related to an inheritance. Estates are usually managed by an executor or the Administrator General's office, with the responsibility of administering the will and paying all taxes and fees from the estate prior to handing over the inheritance. Investigate before you act. Don't be scammed.
Since it was founded in 1989, Crimestop Jamaica has received 4,921 tips on illegal firearms and ammunition alone. Here are some other interesting facts that you should know.
Did you know? Brought to you by Musson Foundation. Crimestop information has led to the seizure of 706 firearms and over 50,000 rounds of ammunition. Over 100 tips regarding firearms and ammunition were received in 2016. 2010 was the most successful year. 51 illegal firearms recovered. Tips received by Crimestop have resulted in the seizure of 178 revolvers, 304 semi-automatic pistols, 95 assault rifles and machine guns, and 115 homemade firearms. Crimestop Jamaica continues to partner with the Ministry of National Security in the Reward for Guns campaign. Rewards offered for information leading to the recovery of illegal firearms. Homemade guns, $5,000. Revolvers and shotguns, $20,000. Submachine guns and semi-automatic weapons, $40,000. High-powered rifles, $50,000. One less illegal gun on the street could result in many lives being saved.
With the crime rate on the rise, many Jamaicans feel the need to take control of their own safety. But guns are still dangerous, even in the hands of law-abiding citizens. Here are some safety tips for licensed firearm holders.
Safety tips brought to you by King Alarm.
Hi, I'm Sheldon Neal, firearm trainer certified by the FLA. Today we're going to be talking about firearm responsibility and safety. We are at the wonderful KBTTC Tactical Training Center, Temple Hall in St. Andrew. Today we have the owner of KBTTC, Mr. Kent Brown, and his two sons, Sage and Scott. As I said, we're talking about firearm responsibility and safety. Now, there are 5 cardinal rules, and if everybody follows them, then everybody will be safe. And remember, there are many firearm holders out there, but firearm safety is actually everybody's business. Kent, let's get started. The first rule of firearm safety is?
Conduct yourself in a mature and responsible manner. We have a common problem in Jamaica where persons like to fire their guns at dances, New Year's Eve celebrations, etc., etc. It is wrong, it is irresponsible, it is reckless. It has to stop because what goes up must come down. It's causing loss of life and serious injury to persons. Homes have been damaged, cars have been damaged. The way for us to fix this is to try to re-educate those that are guilty of this irresponsible and reckless practice.
Thank you. Scotty, why don't you tell us about some specific safety rules for firearms?
Okay, thanks Sheldon. We have the safety rule that I would like to discuss today is having the finger off the trigger until you're ready to shoot. What we've developed is a habit of having one standard, having your finger straight along the frame, not dangling anywhere near to the trigger guard or the trigger. And we've developed a habit of only putting your finger on the trigger once your sights are on target. It can go dangerously wrong if you keep your finger on the trigger and reholster, or putting your finger on the trigger too early. Many accidents have happened this way. Many accidents have happened keeping your finger on the trigger and moving while having your finger on the trigger. Here you go.
Thank you, Scotty. Sage, why don't you tell us another cardinal rule of firearm safety?
Thank you, Shirley. Assume all guns are loaded, whether you have checked them to see that they have been unloaded or not, because unloaded guns have been known to kill. Persons think that they have unloaded the gun properly, and they start to do things with the guns, pointing it at persons, handling it in the wrong ways, and one is in the head. When they squeeze the trigger, bang, a person gets shot. That's because they have not unloaded it properly. Whether you've checked the gun once or twice, do not point it at anyone.
Thank you, Sage. Kent, why don't you tell us about the fourth rule of firearm safety?
Okay, Sheldon. Thanks, Sage. Okay, now the next rule is never have the muzzle of the gun. The muzzle is where the bullet leaves the gun. Never have the muzzle of the gun point at anything that you're not willing to destroy or kill. If you were to have a negligent discharge and the gun was pointed in a safe direction, there's a great possibility nobody would be hit. If it was covering somebody where it was pointing at somebody when it shouldn't have been, if the gun went off, the person would be shot. So one of the ways to really ensure no accidents, no problems, never have the gun pointed at anything you don't want to destroy or kill. So if I was turning with the gun, for example, if I had to turn with the gun over here, I wouldn't just turn with the gun and point it at Scott or Sheldon. I'd hold the gun down and turn, or hold the gun up and turn, because I'm conscious of where my muzzle is pointing at all times. That's the way to do it. That is the only way to do it.
The last cardinal firearm safety rule says, know your target, what's around and what's beyond. You must be certain of your target so that you never injure the wrong person.
Licensed firearm holders in Jamaica need to remember that we are held to a high standard. We have to conduct ourselves in a responsible and mature way at all times when carrying a firearm. Alcohol and guns just don't mix, period.
And remember, everyone, that we're under great scrutiny, us licensed firearm holders. We don't have the luxury of having any error. So just remember, be safe at all times, because one mistake from one of us can cost all of us.
There you have it, the 5 cardinal safety rules. Responsible behavior, treat all firearms as if they're loaded, keep your finger off the trigger, never point your firearm at something unless you're willing to destroy it, and know your target and what's around. Stay safe.
The crime stats are troubling, and the criminals feel they have us cornered. But think again. Whatever they do, united against them, we hold the power.
As an ordinary citizen, it may mean reporting an illegal gun, giving information on a wanted criminal, or simply blowing the whistle about suspicious activities taking place in your neighborhood. Don't hide in fear. The change begins with us. I'm Deidre Dixon.
And I'm Leroy Hall. Thanks to our sponsors, Musson Foundation, National Bakery, King Alarm, and Grace Kennedy. See you next time.